Hi guys, welcome to day 17 of Scout Lockdown. We're going to be learning a bit more about the axe and the safety around using the axe. So please pay attention, so when you're older and you get to use the axe, you know how to use it safely. I can only teach you what I've been taught myself, so hopefully this sounds similar to those who've done it before. I hope you enjoy. Thank you for watching Scout Lockdown. Thank you. So today we're going to learn about axe safety. It's important that when you're using the axe, you use it when you're not tired, when you're not drowsy, when you're wide awake. You also use it in the morning where possible, when the sun's up. You don't really want to be chopping after 6 o'clock if you're on camp, because the sun's starting to set, and although you can still see, it is starting to get dark, and I'm sure you understand, no chopping when it's dark, when it's night time. Okay, so you want to do most of your chopping during the day. Carrying an axe, always carry the axe like that, so it's there. Never just swing the axe, that's dangerous. Never carry like this, because when you fall, your arms automatically go forward, and as you can see, the blade's pointing upwards. Never swing the axe. When you fall forward like that, the blade is looking forward, so it's likely to go in the ground or away from you. Okay, and if you're using a felling axe, which is the taller one, I haven't got mine with me, but just don't grip it. You can put your hand over to balance, but never grip it, because if you grip it, it's going to come in front of you. Ideally, try not to carry the axe at all. Always carry it in a lockbox. But if you should have to carry an axe, carry it safely. Do the shortest distance, and make sure your route is clear. No climbing over trees or anything like that to get to where you're going. Make sure it's the shortest distance. When you've got the axe at home or at camp, always store in a lockbox out of the way, so you can get to it easily, so it's nice and safe. And if you're travelling in the car, make sure it's in the boot, not in the passenger area. And always make sure, if you're under 18, that you have an adult with you when you're using it, unless you've been fully trained. Also, carrying the axe, I've got Spider Cup here to passing the axe. I've got Spider Cup here to help me show you how to pass an axe. Now there's lots of scout leaders who teach different ways. This is how I was taught, and this is how I teach my scouts. So my toes are really important to me. Spider Cup's toes are really important to him, and neither of us want to lose them. So we're going to hold the back of the axe with the blade up so everybody can see it, not down. Going to pass the handle, the haft, and the grip towards Spider Cub, and he's not gonna just take it from me. I'm going to place it in his hand so his fingers wrap round, and then I'm going to wait until he says the words, "I've got the axe." Now that may sound very silly to a lot of you, but my toes are really important to me, and I don't want to lose them. And Spider Cub's toes are really important to him, and he doesn't want to lose his. So it may sound silly, but once Spider Cub says, "I have the axe," I know it's safe to let go. And it's really important, scouts, that you don't say it too early. I know you're keen to use the axe, but never say it too early, because I don't want to lose my toes. So the best way to pass the axe is always to put it in the chopping block, and then someone else pick it up, or put it down on a table and someone else pick it up. But if you have to pass it,
I have the axe.
Hold the back. He's going to turn it around. He's going to keep the blade up. I have the axe. And that's safe. But like I said, if you can put the axe down on a table or in a chopping block, it's the safest way to pass the axe. But if you have to pass it by hand, do it safely. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Hi guys, welcome to Scout Lockdown. Today we're going to be learning more about the axe. Hopefully you learnt all your parts of the axe, which we did on day 6. If you didn't, go back and have a look. We're going to be talking about making it safe to use the axe today. So we're going to start with ourselves. So to make ourselves safe to use an axe, then we need to remove all dangly things. So I've got a scarf on, that needs to come off. If you've got a open jacket or a coat, it needs to be zipped up or taken off. If you've got long hair, ideally needs to be tied back out of the way, so nothing dangling. Any necklaces or anything like that need to be taken off. We also need to be wearing sensible shoes, the hardest pair of shoes that you've got, so hiking boots is great. Not sandals, not flip-flops, nothing open, okay, not Crocs. Don't know why anybody would wear Crocs. My cameraman's now laughing at me because she's wearing Crocs as we speak. And make sure there's a sensible shoe. Wellies, if you have to, ideally some sort of strong pair of shoes. Also any dangly things, so any bracelets or anything dangly around our wrists, take off and we move. Then we're going to look at the area we're going to do on. So if you're on camp, then you should ideally set up a chopping area. If you're just doing it for 5 minutes, you should still have an area so no one goes into it, but we need to make sure it's safe. This is my chopping area. The chopping area has a doorway, and we'll come back to that in a minute, but it has a doorway, and then a boundary all the way around. This boundary should be waist height, not too low that someone can trip over it and fall into the chopping area, not too high that little beavers can run underneath it. Just waist height so everybody can see it, everybody knows it's there, and if you walk into it, you'll know it. Your chopping area should be the largest person or the biggest person that is using the chopping area or likely to use the chopping area, so they're most likely going to be a leader. And you stand in the middle, and it's one arm and two of the axe you're using, and we'll come back to that in a moment, two axes, that way, that way, that way, that way, and that way. So you make sure there's no trees, if you're doing it in your garden, no washing lines, no power cables, anything like that. So your axe area should be your arm's length and two axes. And the reason I said it depends on which axe you're using. If you're using the hand axe like we're doing today, then you should do it on the hand axe. If you're using the felling axe, which unfortunately isn't with me at the moment, then you need to make it bigger because you need to use it for the felling axe. The area you've picked should be as flat as possible. We're going to be in the field most of the time, so it's never going to be perfect, but make sure there's no rabbit holes, mole holes, tree roots or anything like that. Make sure it's as flat as possible. A scout's not lazy, but they are energy efficient. There's no point carrying all the wood from the woods all the way down to your chopping area, chopping the wood and then carrying it all the way to your fire area. So ideally, your chopping area should be near your fire, so you don't have to carry the wood, especially if you've taken the large tree and cut it all up and then have to carry all the small bits. Have it next to the area. And ideally you should have a wood store of small bits, medium bits and larger bits, so when you've chopped your wood you can put it in your wood store and then the people on the other side can take it for their fire. We'll come back to that on another day of your wood stores. Okay, so knowing if the axe is safe. Well, hopefully you learnt all your parts the other day, so we're going to go through them. We're going to make sure the head or the wedge is tightly on and there's no movement. We're going to make sure the eye is in one piece and there's no holes or gaps or anything's loose. We're going to make sure the head or wedge, the head is on the shoulders and neck, so there's no gaps between the haft or the handle here and the head. So this one's all tight. We're going to check the handle to make sure that there's no breaks, splinters or anything else in the handle, for it's in one piece. We're also going to check it's sharp. Okay, if it's got lots and lots and lots of little dents around it, it'll probably need a sharpen or worse replacement. Okay, so we're going to make sure it's sharp. A blunt axe and a blunt saw and a blunt knife, but a blunt axe is more dangerous than a sharp axe. A blunt axe is just going to bounce and it could go anywhere. A sharp axe is going to go straight into the wood and cut it. So it's important to make sure A, sharp, and B, there's no dents or anything, because that probably means it's not sharp around the bit. So we're going to check the bit. This one seems fine. when you're in the chopping area, if you're storing the axe, you're going to put it in the elephant's foot or the chopping block. We're going to put it like that, so it's all safe. We're not going to put it like that, because that is a tripping hazard. Even if you're getting your own wood and you know it's there, you can still trip over that and knock it out. So we're going to make sure it's like that. Okay, so we're going to make sure it's as much over the log as possible. We're also never going to put it behind here, because going back to the door of the chopping area, no one can see it. So if you're coming through the gateway into the chopping area, no one can see it. We're not going to put it on that side, because even though you can still see it, it can still be tripped over. We're also never going to lie it flat on the floor, because you may never see it. Someone may walk into the chopping area, especially if you're on camp with long grass, you may never see it. So we're never going to put it on the floor. We're always going to store it in there, and if you don't need it for a long while, I would lock it up in a metal lock box, put it back in your storeroom or store tent, out of the way. When it comes to the door, there should only be one person in your chopping area at any one time, unless you're being instructed by a leader. When you're talking axes anyway, saws is slightly different. You could have two people in there for the bow saw, but axes, there should only be one person in your chopping area at one time. So if you're waiting by the door, and you're waiting by the gate there, you shouldn't disturb the other person inside. You should wait there quietly. Don't spend time waving like that, because if they're going to swing and then you're shouting or waving, they're going to look at you, and then the axe could go anywhere, especially in their leg or something like that. Or worse, they could let go of it and the axe will come towards you. So if you're wanting to speak to someone in the chopping area, wait outside the chopping area, wait patiently. They will have to see you at some point, because at some point they will have to put down their axe to get more wood, and they will see you, they will stop sawing, they'll put the axe in the log, and they'll speak to you. This is the safety areas of the axe. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay home, stay safe.